Welcome back to the channel, folks, where today we look at a plant on the British Fern playlist, which is known as the common Polypody or Polypody vulgarum, which is a plant in the family Polypodiaceae or the Polypody family. Like the fronds of Blechnum spicant, the hard fern, the Polypody is once divided, making it relatively easy to identify in the field. In our 5-minute family series, we will be looking at the identifiable features and characteristics of the family in more detail. For the purpose of this video, sufficient to say that we should pay close attention to the underside of the pinnae, which contains sori or groups of spores on the abraxial or underside of the pinnae. The spore shape and configuration is best examined using a magnifying loupe of ×20 or ×30, and there are links in the description. In the slide that follows, we can see on the underside of the pinnae 2 linear rows of rusty brown orange spores along the length of the pinnae. When looking at sori in ferns, we should note whether or not the sori contain an indusium or outer cover and the overall shape of the sori. In the case of the Polypody, the sori lacks an indusium. As the video is aimed at the beginner, it is worthwhile saying a few words about the confusing terms species, variety, cultivar and hybrid. A species is a naturally occurring group of plants that can interbreed and often includes, for example in the case of ladybirds, various spot formations known as forms, or in the case of plants, subspecies in terms of the flower colour, such as subspecies alba. A variety is a plant which exhibits a specific characteristic, which could be flower colour, or leaf shape, or any other characteristic. When a variety or variation becomes of interest to humans and it is selected and selectively bred to form seed, it becomes known as a cultivar. A hybrid can be created in both nature and in horticulture by crossing 2 different species of varieties to produce a new plant with the characteristics from both parents. The 3 common species seen in the UK are the common Polypody or Polypody vulgare, the southern Polypody or Polypody cambricum, and the intermediate Polypody known as Polypody interjectum, and these readily hybridize. These species may be distinguished by differences in the habitat and subtle variation in the frond. The following table shows the hybrid crosses resulting from the 3 different species of Polypody. So, to summarise the features and characteristics of Polypody, the fronds have triangular leaflets that grow in a leathery, ladder-like arrangement, and the fronds can measure between 10 and 50 centimetres. The spores are located on the rear of the fronds on the sori as rusty lines of orange spots, and they lack an indusium. Polypody is a hardy fern and grows in damp, shady places in woodlands. It can also thrive in drier conditions such as old walls and rocky areas, making it suitable for garden. And the Polypody can also grow as an epiphyte on trees, particularly in the forks of branches. Welcome folks, it's Wildlife Ranger here, welcome back to the channel. Now today we have come to a small garden on a stone woodland theme, which is damp and shady and directly underneath some well coppiced holly trees. We've primarily come to look at the 3rd fern in the series, which is Polypody, or the common Polypody. As coincidence has it, this is a small planting were the Polypody, or the common Polypody, Polypodium vulgare aggregate, has been planted, and directly in front of me here is Blechnum spiken, the hard fern, which we've covered before, and to my immediate left over here we have the soft shield fern. Now, when we look at the Polypody, the best that we can really say it is Polypody vulgare aggregate, unless we look carefully at the spores. So when we look at fern identification, we should really look carefully at the spore structure. And this is a once divided fern. Now, Polypody has three species. It has the sullen Polypody, which is Polypodium cambricum. It has the intermediate Polypody, which is Polypody intersectum, and it also has a common Polypody, Polypody vulgare. And these three species readily hybridize, and they should all be distinguished by looking at the vegetative characteristics of the plant, such as the spores. And indeed, in the presentation that follows, we have a slide to show the progeny of the hybridization that will follow the video. So, why do we know that this is Polypodium vulgare, the common Polypody? Well, we know that without having to look at the spores, because it has been planted, and as I have clearly read on the label, it says Polypodium vulgare. So that's something of a shortcut to identification. If we see this plant in the wild, where it frequently occurs on drains, little waterfalls, water outflows, one would have to do the due diligence and check the spore structure and vegetative form of the fern. But just to recap again, it's the common Polypody. It likes damp, wooded stone areas on well fertile soil. We find it in the shade underneath this holly tree, and it is also extremely tolerant of drought. And directly adjacent to it we have Blechnum spiken, which is the hard fern, which we've covered in other videos, and directly to the left we have the soft shield fern, which we may include some shots in this video. In the meantime, let us allow the plant to speak for itself. Well folks, that's all from me on the Polypody, and apologies for any mispronunciations. Once again, thank you very much for watching. If you have liked or enjoyed this video or found it interesting or educational, please like, share and subscribe to help us bring the next in the series. In the meantime, in the words of Maggie, our international symbol of floral appreciation, whatever the weather may be, get outdoors and enjoy yourself.